My name is Steve, and you're watching the original Life and Sad Ending channel. The Conqueror is a 1956 historical drama about Genghis Khan starring John Wayne and directed by Dick Powell. John Wayne plays the part of Mongol conqueror Genghis Khan. The Duke is miscast, and it is generally agreed by most critics to be a bad movie. I guess the Duke thought he'd make a great Mongol conqueror. The thing is, call it a curse or bad luck, of the 220 film cast and crew members, 91 of them developed cancer during their lifetime, and 46 of them died from it. When this was learned, many thought that filming in Utah and surrounding locations near nuclear test sites was to blame. Though the number of cancer cases among the cast and crew is in line with the average for adults, the cast and crew of The Conqueror developed cancer at a younger age than average. Parts of the film were shot in Utah locations such as Snow Canyon, Pine Valley, and Leeds. The exteriors were also shot in the Escalante Desert near St. George, Utah, which is 137 miles downwind of the United States government's Nevada National Security Site and received most of the nuclear fallout from testing active in this period. In 1953, 11 above-ground nuclear weapons tests occurred at the site as part of Operation Upshot Knothole. The cast and crew spent many difficult weeks at the site. Producer Howard Hughes later shipped 60 tons of dirt back to Hollywood in order to match the Utah terrain and lend realism to studio reshoots. The filmmakers knew about the nuclear test, but the federal government had assured residents that the test posed no hazard to the public health. Among those who later died from possible nuclear radiation were Susan Hayward. Hayward's doctor found a lung tumor in March 1972 that metastasized, and after a seizure in April 1973, she was diagnosed with brain cancer. Sadly, on March 14, 1975, she suffered a seizure in her Beverly Hills home and died. She was only 57 years old. A funeral service was held on March 16th at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Roman Catholic Church in Carrollton, Georgia. Hayward's body was buried in the church cemetery. Agnes Moorehead was a non-smoker, teetotaler, and health fanatic. Sadly, she died of uterine cancer on April 30th, 1974 in Rochester, Minnesota. She was only 73 years old. Her mother, Mary, who survived Agnes, lived to be 106 years old, dying in 1990. Agnes Moorehead is entombed in a crypt at Dayton Memorial Park in Dayton, Ohio. Lee Van Cleef. Despite suffering from heart disease since the late 1970s and having a pacemaker installed in the early 1980s, Van Cleef continued to work in films until, sadly, he collapsed in his home in Oxnard, California, and died from a heart attack. He was only 64 years old. However, throat cancer was listed as a secondary cause of death. He was buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery, Hollywood Hills, California. Actor and the director of the film Dick Powell's doctor conducted tests and found malignant tumors on his neck and chest. Sadly, Dick Powell died on January 2, 1963. He was only 58 years old. His body was cremated and his remains were interred in the Columbarium of Honor at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. John Hoyt sadly died of lung cancer in Santa Cruz, California on September 15, 1991. He was only 86 years old. Actor Pedro Armendariz sadly was diagnosed with kidney cancer in 1960 and took his own life on June 18, 1963, after he learned his condition had become terminal. He was only 51 years old. And finally, we come to John Wayne, who himself believed his stomach cancer to have been a result of his 6-pack-a-day cigarette habit. He enrolled in a cancer vaccine study in an attempt to ward off the disease, but sadly, John Wayne died of stomach cancer on June 11, 1979, at the UCLA Medical Center. He was only 72 years old. He is buried in the Pacific View Memorial Park Cemetery in Corona del Mar, Newport Beach, California. Several of Wayne's and Hayward's relatives who visited the set also had cancer scares. Reportedly, Howard Hughes felt guilty about his decisions regarding the film's production, particularly over the decision to film at a hazardous site. He bought every print of the film for $12 million and kept it out of circulation for many years until Universal Pictures purchased the film from his estate in 1979. The Conqueror, along with Ice Station Zebra, is said to be one of the films Howard Hughes watched endlessly during his last years. Since the primary cast and crew numbered about 220 and a considerable number of cancer cases would be expected, controversy exists as to whether the actual results are attributable to radiation at the nearby nuclear weapons test site. Statistically, the odds of developing cancer for men in the U.S. population are about 43%, and the odds of dying of cancer are 23%, very near what was found in this film crew. So what do you think? Cancer curse or coincidence? If you like this video, please consider subscribing and giving it a thumbs up. Well, I'll see you again next time, unless I come to my own sad ending.